There was once a boy named Theo who barely spoke. He wasn't shy, nor was he scared. His words were simply like butterflies, soft and rare, fluttering away before they reached his lips. Instead, Theo listened. He listened so deeply, it was as if his ears could catch the sound of falling snow or the heartbeat of an old tree. While other children filled rooms with chatter and laughter, Theo collected something quieter. He collected silences. Not the kind of silence that comes from emptiness, but the kind that hums with meaning. The silence of a mother braiding her daughter's hair in the morning sun. The silence of a leaf floating to the ground. The silence of his father's hand resting gently on his shoulder once upon a time, before the illness took him away. That was when Theo had started his collection. After the funeral, when people filled the house with noise, condolences, casseroles and stories, they forgot to leave space for stillness. But Theo remembered. In his notebook, he began writing moments without sound. A page for the hush between raindrops, another for the quiet before sleep, and one for the silence after laughter, the part that felt like a sigh and a hug at once. He carried the notebook everywhere. Some children thought it odd. "He never talks," they'd whisper. "He just stares at trees and scribbles in that book." But Theo didn't mind. Words, he thought, were not the only way to speak. His little sister, Mira, understood him best. She was 6, full of stories and songs, and she talked enough for both of them. When she danced through the garden, Theo followed quietly, capturing the stillness in her shadow as it fell across the petals. When she napped, he'd sit beside her, listening to the rhythm of her breath and adding it to his silent collection. One Saturday, their mother took them into the city. It was loud and full of movement. Buses groaned, music blared from storefronts, and crowds moved like rivers without pause. Theo held Mira's hand tightly, feeling her fingers wiggle with excitement. She wanted to see the balloon man. She wanted ice cream. She wanted to touch everything. But somewhere between the carousel and the bookshop, Theo's hand suddenly felt empty. He turned. Mira was gone. His heart jumped. His breath stopped. The city's sounds pressed in on him all at once, too much, too sharp. "Mira?" he tried to say, but his voice trembled and wouldn't come. He didn't shout. He didn't panic. Instead, Theo closed his eyes and listened. Not to the noise, but for the gaps, the spaces between. The tiny silences where Mira might be. He stepped through the crowd like a whisper, past a man reading on a bench, the hush of his turning page, past a musician tuning her violin, the breath before her bow touched the strings. Theo tuned himself like an instrument, listening deeper. Then he heard it. A pause, a quiet pocket beneath the stone steps of the museum. A hush that felt familiar. He turned and walked toward it. There, huddled behind a potted plant, sat Mira. Her cheeks were tear-streaked and her shoelaces were untied. When she saw him, her face crumpled with relief. "You found me," she said, breathless. Theo knelt and hugged her. He still didn't say a word. He didn't need to. She held onto him tightly, and he gently took her hand once more. As they walked back to find their mother, Mira whispered, "I was so loud in my head. But then I thought of you, and I waited for the quiet. I knew you'd find it." That night, Theo added a new page to his notebook. He wrote, "The silence of being found." From that day forward, the city didn't seem as noisy to Theo. He still collected silences, one from the hush of holding Mira's hand again, one from the warm kitchen when their mother stirred soup in the evening, one from the soft thump of his own heartbeat as he listened to the world breathe. And slowly, the children at school began to understand. One by one, they'd sit beside him, trying to listen as he did. They learned to notice the spaces between the bells and the shouts, the quiet after clapping, the pause before a story begins. And though Theo still spoke rarely, when he did, his words felt like stars. Few, but bright.